Happy New Year, and welcome to the first episode of the Smart Money Show. I'm your host, Dave Field. I'm a certified financial planner and a certified cash flow specialist, and I've spent the last decade helping people better manage their cash flow. So, it's the start of another new year, and if you're watching this, now is a great time to start the year fresh and get your finances in order. I'll go into a bit more detail about what the Smart Money Show is a little later in this episode. But since I know you're here to get a start on your finances, let's get right to some helpful tips to get you started this new year. So, I pride myself on some unconventional money ideas, so let's get to it. So, to start off this new year, I want you to know that budgeting doesn't work. You've probably tried it. You've probably heard it's the only way to get a hold of your finances, but it's not true. And it doesn't work. And there's a reason why almost everybody fails at budgeting. And the reason it doesn't work is that budgeting looks at your past spending decisions, not your future ones. All it does is reflect the past, and you can't do anything about the past. And so, therefore, a budget really doesn't help you move things forward. The other thing a budget does is, and it's actually quite harmful, is that a budget actually can help you justify your spending. And you can find, as long as you can find a category in your budget, well then your spending was fine, right? Doesn't matter, you bought it out of whim, didn't really think it through, but I found a line item for it, and so I'm good. And it doesn't really work that way when you're trying to, say I buy an iPad on a whim, and where do I fit this relatively large expense I wasn't expecting? Well, you know, I kind of need an iPad when I go travel, right? Because I need to maybe check some emails, or I can maybe do some reading on it. So it'll go in the travel line. Well, as soon as it's time for me to travel, then I realize I don't have enough money when I go to travel. Do I not travel? I probably will travel, probably will spend the money, and eventually there won't be a spot in the budget for it, and I'll overspend, right? So a budget really doesn't help you there. Another thing, really, about a budget is, I don't know about you, but I find life quite busy, and I really don't need something else to do that I don't want to do, uh, especially when it's something that really offers very little value. So now I know everyone has heard that budgeting is the way to deal with this, and you probably know some people that have budgeted and seem to have had success with it. But, those people probably aren't, it's not the budgeting, it's probably that they've figured out how to manage their cash flow, right? And so one of their tasks of keeping it all in a budget, underlying that is that they're actually managing their cash flow. So that's the key, is you want to learn how to manage the cash flow, um, you know, and sometimes that's disguised as budgeting, but budgeting is a waste of time. And so don't start your brand new year off wasting time on a budget. So if budgeting isn't the key, then what do you need to do? So the key, the focus you need to have is that you need to find money, right? If you don't have money available, then you cannot pay off debt. or you cannot put it into a savings account, or you cannot put it towards something that you want to do, right? So the key is to be able to find the money. Now, telling you that doesn't help you find the money, but you know, sticking, you need to stick to the basics, right? The It's all about spending less money than you bring in, right? So as long as you can focus on learning these basics, then you're going to be much further ahead, right? It's all about finding the money so that you can make a change in your financial life. So that means, if you're in Canada, forget about tax-free savings account and RRSPs and all the other types of saving vehicles. And the same goes for if you're watching this from the States. Doesn't matter if it's an IRA or a Roth IRA, or that's just noise. You just need to spend less than you make, find the money, just put the money in some sort of savings. Just a basic savings account. Done. Right? If you have lots accumulating there, then we can worry about that in a future step, right? But you got to focus on the basics. And one thing you often hear is, well, I, you know, I need to cut out my lattes or my coffee every morning, right? And like that's the key to financial success, right? So if you deny yourself that once expenditure every day or a few times a week, well then, you know, you're going to hit all your financial goals, and that's unrealistic expectations. So if you like lattes, buy a latte. If you need your coffee, buy yourself a coffee. I mean, it's not going to make a huge difference. You know, where you do get a boost by trying to figure out how to find the money is finding the money from bigger sources of, um, you know, of draws on your money, right? Where are the bigger expenditures going, or where is a lot of money going out, right? So if you can find the larger pools of money, then you're gonna make a lot more progress, right? And you're gonna be higher motivated to keep going. So one of the secrets I find, mortgages, rent, car loans, car leases, cell phone plans, they're all large expenditures that are, you're kind of committed to, right? So, that's a big thing. So if you're looking to make a change in any of those areas, you really want to make something that's flexible and positive on your cash flow, right? So that's a great way to save large sums of money to put towards other things like debt and savings and other goals. Another way to find money is something I call your financial black hole, and it's something that everybody has, myself included, and it's spending you do every week, every month, every year on items that have no significant value to you. You spend the money on them, and almost instantly you've forgotten that you've done it, right? And these can be from gifts for different people, from work functions to socializing and entertainment, or um, just a large variety of things. And it's money that leaves you and you receive nothing back for it, right? If you spend money and you have a great experience and it leaves something with you, then that's a good expense, right? But the financial black hole are just those items that suck your money away, right? And nobody can get total control over their financial black hole, but that is one major source of money that if you can tighten that up, that's where you'll find the money. And good sums of money that will make a big difference in trying to repay your debt and your savings, and really make you go further than you've ever been able to go further before, right? So that financial black hole is key. So another thing is that you have all the math skills you need to do well with your money. Uh, I have no better math skills than what you do, or especially for what's needed um, to manage your money. It's not about math, it's about emotions. And emotions are difficult to control. Humans are wired for the short term, and that can keep you from achieving your bigger goals that you have. And depending on how you feel on a certain day or at the moment where you're making a financial decision, that's what impacts you the most, right? And that also leads towards the financial black hole as well, right? The the decisions you make, but the emotions is what drives your decisions. And retailers and both in stores and online, I mean, they pour billions of dollars into research, and they know how to speak to your emotions. They know how to get you to make that purchase, right? So you're not dealing with um, you're dealing almost with a financial adversary, right? There's so many out there. Everybody's trying to get your money. There's so much competition for your money, and they're very good at it, right? So combine that with your emotions and your emotional state at the time of making that decision. It's a big challenge. It's a challenge for you. It's a huge challenge for me too. And so you really got to learn to uh, focus on those emotions and learn how to better control them. It'll make a huge decision. And the reality too is that you can't cut out all pleasures in life, right? It's really simple advice to say, cut everything out, and live on very little, and don't ever eat out. And maybe you can do that for a couple months, but this is about long-term success, right? Let's we can correct what problems may be now, if you want to pay off debt and that sort of thing, but we really want to get you moving forward in a positive way into the future, right? So that you can find that success you're looking for. So you need short-term goals as well as long-term goals, right? You need to be able to have that reward for doing well, um, you know, on a shorter term basis, right? So what do you want to achieve this year? What do you want to do this year, right? What what's feasible, right? As well as have those longer term goals, but aim for something close. You can't if you're just aiming to say I'm saving for retirement and I want to retire early, you're never going to be motivated, right? So it's a lot about the emotions. It's almost entirely about the emotions, really. Another thing to remember too is you're the expert in you and in your own life and in your goals and in what you want to do, and nobody else is going to be able to help you with that. Um, you have to identify that. You have to find that from within yourself. And I'm here to support you. I'm here to help you get to those goals. I'm here to help you to identify what is your why. Why do you want to do this? What is your motivation for getting your finances in order? But you're the expert. You're the one that decides everything, right? You're the one that decides whether something is for or against your goals. So you're that expert. Nobody else can give you that. Again, I'm just here to help you, and I just want you to um, achieve your goals and achieve what you want to in life. Uh, Another key thing to go into the new year is, last year is gone. It's over. Bad spending decisions are also gone. Not to say that there aren't consequences and you still may be paying for those decisions now. But you can't change the past. What you spent money on, you spent money on. It's done, it's over, it's gone. And you can spend a lot of your emotional energy dwelling on the past, which gets you nowhere and just demotivates you. So look forward. Look forward into the new year. Look forward to the change you're going to bring, and let's make better financial decisions moving forward. Decisions that align with your goals and what you want to do. And if there's some debt and that we have to deal with, we're going to deal with it. But let's look forward. Another thing too is you need to remember that debt is just a financial tool, and but it can be a dangerous financial tool. And just like a power tool, it can be very useful. It can be more efficient. You can get a lot more done, but it can also be dangerous. So if you don't know how to use it, if you don't know how to manage it, it's best to stay away from it. And it's not to say that that's not a tool or that you put into your arsenal, but stay away from it until you're ready and to use it effectively. There's a lot of ways you can use debt in a positive way, but until you learn it, it's best to stay away from it. And if you are in debt, it's best to do everything we can to get you out of it, and then learn how to use it properly moving forward. And the biggest tip, the most important thing to go into this new year focusing on financially is cash flow. It's all about the cash flow, right? It's all about the money in and the money out, the flow of money, and how you manage that, and how you manage that in real time, right? The good cash flow has absolutely nothing to do with whether you got a good deal or a good discount, right? If you spend the money, that money is still gone, and that money may have been better useful to stay where it is, right? Stay with you, right? It might give you more options to do other things with it, right? So as long as, and I know it can feel good it can feel really good to get a good deal or a discount, but if you wouldn't pay full price for the item, you probably don't need it, right? It's probably not necessary. If you didn't see the value with the full price, it's probably not necessary at a discount. And if it's something you really want or need and you've saved up for it in advance and it goes on sale, then that's great and you can feel good about that. But um, it's all about having the cash in and the cash out, right? So a good deal, or buying 48 rolls of toilet paper at a good deal. Well, you get paid maybe every couple weeks, right? So you're not going to use 48 rolls of toilet paper, I wouldn't think, in 2 weeks, right? So, buy what you need. Manage it with your cash flow, right? Yes, there's great deals. Yes, you can buy in bulk. And yes, you can do all these sorts of things. And mathematically, it makes sense. But it doesn't make sense on a cash flow basis, right? So you really got to focus on the money coming in and the money coming out, right? If you get paid or your income comes in monthly, you're going to manage your cash flow differently than someone who's paid weekly, right? And you just have to manage that, learn how to manage that and focus on that money in and money out, right? And discounts are not the same as good cash flow. Now, the reason I say you need to focus on your cash flow is I really feel that cash flow can give you superpowers. Especially, you're a financial superhero if you know how to manage your cash flow properly, right? And the reason for that is when you have cash flow, or you have cash on hands, or you have some money in savings, or you, you're managing that properly, then you almost always have options, right? So if you lose your job, if you have a medical emergency, if someone passes away, whatever happens, if you have good cash flow and you have that in order, you're going to be able to get through that much easier than if your cash flow is really tight and you don't have those options, and you didn't have anything extra as a backup. It really removes a lot of options from you, which is necessary, especially if sometimes there's some really difficult times, right? It can really help you get through those emergencies. And because you have that positive cash flow, that cash flow management, and also you have some backed up, then that just reduces your stress significantly around money and around life, and it gives you flexibility, so you can make different choices than you might make if if you don't have healthy cash flow. And another superpower healthy cash flow gives you is that everybody has certain opportunities that arise in their life, right? Maybe it's a home that you want to buy or rent that comes available, and that is your dream home. Um, Maybe it's a great deal um, on something you've been looking at for a long time that really make an impact on your life, and something you've been trying to save up for. Well, if you have that money saved up because of the positive cash flow, well, you can take advantage of those occasions, right? And those opportunities. Same thing with investing, right? Or investing in a business or starting a business. You have that kind of positive cash flow. When the timing's right, you can take advantage of those sorts of things. And the other thing with cash flow is you really want to try and avoid cash flow traps. And there's a lot of them out there. But, you know, generally it's borrowing money to make a purchase. So anything where you're locked in, where you don't have flexibility, where you can't make changes, you really got to watch out, right? And that's mortgages. Sometimes your rental, but renting is more flexible. You can change that. But car loans, car leases, cell phone plans, they're all examples of cash flow traps. And it's not necessarily to say that they're bad, but life can change. Life does not go in a straight line, right? There's ups, there's downs, and you're going to need flexibility during that, right? So if all your cash flow is wrapped up in a lot of promises, a lot of obligations financially that you've committed yourself to, it's really hard to create that flexibility that you may need um, in the way life goes. And that's a reality of life. And so your cash flow needs to be able to rise and fall uh, with that reality as well. Um, so that's kind of a bit of a dump on you, dump of ideas to start the new year financially. Um, you know, in the coming weeks with the show, we're going to go into more depth, into more details into every one of these different aspects, as well into some other areas as well of your financial health. But this is kind of meant to be a new way to look at it. You're starting a new year, trying to start fresh. This is a great way to come at it with a different perspective. Realize that there's a different way to go about it. You don't have to just try budgeting again for the umpteenth time. And we can take a different course, we take a different path that will lead you to um, the outcome you want, right? So there's a different path, and this path will allow you the chance to succeed, where as I said, starting with budgeting is kind of a bad place to start. It kind of sets you up for failure. So I know for some of you, starting off the new year, you're going to want to start it off with a bang. So to do that, I've compiled a bunch of detailed tips that I have available to deliver to you straight to your email. They're kind of set up to be sent to you at a certain pace, so something to accomplish every day to get things in order and moving positive for the beginning of the year. So if you're interested in that, go to smartmoneysociety.com or click on some of the links below to sign up and receive these tips straight to your email. Like I said, we will be getting into a lot more as the Smart Money Show goes on, but this will help you get a boost in those first couple weeks of the new year to keep you motivated and moving forward as quickly and successfully as possible. So at the beginning of the show, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Smart Money Show and the idea for it. And it came about a year ago. I was listening to a radio talk show, and they were discussing money and debt, and they had a trustee in bankruptcy on the radio taking callers' questions. And one man called in and just said, he's been struggling with controlling his spending for many, many years, and he's got a good job, earns a good income. He shouldn't be having these problems, but every couple years he has to roll a bunch of debt into his mortgage. Often it's called like a debt consolidation, and he just doesn't seem to be making the progress that he wants to make. And he made a very fair comment that if he's sick, he goes to see a doctor. Who does he go to see about this? And the person on the radio did what he knew best, and recommended that the person do a debt consolidation, or sorry, not debt consolidation. It did a consumer proposal, because a consumer proposal offers in Ontario one mandatory or maybe a couple mandatory budgeting sessions. And so therefore, if he went through consumer proposal, ruined his credit rating, put himself in in financial constraints, removing the flexibility I've just talked this whole episode about, just to get a couple of sessions on budgeting, like that's going to set him up for good long-term success. So that was the advice, and it really made my blood boil as someone who's been helping people with this over the past many years. And so that's where the idea for the show came from. Somewhere else for people to go to just get some help and be steered in the right direction. So this show is meant to focus on the basics, and I know the basics aren't flashy, but they work. And the basics is what you need, and the basics is what I try and live by. Complicating it, not to say you can't get more complicated, but at first, just get everything in order, right? Money in, money out, spend less than I make. There you go, right? And so it's not to simplify it. It can be a bit more difficult. It's more difficult than that. There's a lot more going on. There's the emotional spending, all that sort of stuff, right? But when it boils down, this is what we need to focus on, and that's the idea of this show. So I hope you'll join me here live. We'll be live every Tuesday, and I'll start with some tips, and I'm hoping to receive questions directly from you that I can answer in real time or from emails in the next show. So I'll see you next Wednesday. Next Tuesday. Have yourself a great week.